Just a quick question, Juan. Like when President Obama, if you remember, just one quick question. When President Obama, remember when was on the campaign trail, and President Trump was 2016, and he talked about that wand. He says, so his President Obama, he's been in politics his whole life, never had his own business, never knew what it likes to pay the light bill, never knew what it was like, the mindset of an employee to an employer. And President Trump would come in and say, "Oh, you kidding me? I can, I'm going to change the regulations. I'm going to do A, B, C, and D, and we'll get jobs going back in this country, no problem." And President Obama made the comment, if you remember, he said, "What does he think? He has a magic wand." I honestly believe that President Obama believed that, like that he had the employee mentality his whole life because he never had his own business. Most of these politicians never had their own business. They don't know what it's like to, be out there and having your lights shut off. And when you start at a restaurant because you don't have enough money and going, "Oh my gosh, I hope that they don't shut my lights," because you're trying to build something for you and your family that they can't take away from us. So the question is, President Obama meant that, didn't he, Juan, when he said, what does Trump think? He has a wand. In other words, he didn't see what President Trump saw that he could make, candidate Trump, to make America great. When he made that comment about the wand, what does he think? He has a wand here, he's going to start all these jobs. When candidate Trump said, "Oh my goodness, if I have control of this and I can cut regulations and I can get get incentivized in these companies and blah, 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 and bring these CEOs in, we'll have the thing going in no time," and President Obama, he didn't believe any of that. Is that correct? Or was he just doing it from a political stance? Like, I actually believe that President Obama didn't know what he was talking about because he never had his own business. Is that's
well, it's more involved than that. Look, you have figureheads that are put in positions. Biden doesn't have a history of anything other than just working in government.
Right.
The reality is that these global oligarchs, these globalists, they don't want people that are actually strong in power. They want weak. That's why you have a Hillary that can't stand her own 2 feet, that has to be escorted in and out of the van, with remote controls somehow to operate the robotic, critters in her back. That's why you have Biden with headpieces telling him to salute the Marines, and he speaks it out. They want weak leaders because they're easily manipulated and controlled, and they won't answer back or talk back or try to make any decisions on their own. They just do what they're told. Obama was a Manchurian candidate. That's just the way it is. People can argue about it over time. I think it'll be clearer and clearer over time. That's the case as more of the truth comes out about what transpired there. From a business standpoint, the way you make things work is actually pretty simple. It comes down to raw resources, things that you can mine and pull out of the ground, the raw materials of production, the energy to do things. And then it comes to the machinery of production, the tools that are run by that energy and gas, the trucks, the cars, the buildings, the factories and plants. America's factories were all being exported in the 90s and 2000 to other parts of the world, wing production to Asia, and every aspect of the car production, being exported to other locations where we had the factories and the expertise, as though the American worker couldn't compete because they got paid too much. So they were way more efficient, and still are.
Yes.
You can go stick that where the sun don't shine. If you don't think that's true, you don't know what you're talking about.
That's right.
Other places in the world where these people are being run in slave labor camps called factories, that is not necessary. We can do it here in America. And by the time you add in shipping across the world and all the payoffs and grafts and bullshit, no, we can do it right here. And we can do it just as cheaply and efficiently. And by the way, we'll probably do a better product. It'll probably keep people alive. We're going to reindustrialize America. We're going to build it here.
Right.
And we're not shutting America down. And if you're going to have a civil war, the civil war is going to be rebuilding the infrastructure of America to compete with the rest of the world. That's going to be the civil war here in America. The American people saying, no, we're not going to let our jobs get shipped overseas. And if a politician says that it's okay to make us pay to ship our factories to some other place to give some buddy of theirs a tax break and a payoff,
see you later.
That's the civil war, because we're going to stop that bullshit right now. And this thing about we're going to end up having to buy all of our energy from everywhere else in the world, that's going to stop. So it's raw resources, the materials for production, our energy, our minerals, etc. By the way, when it comes to minerals, over this whole thorium thing, we can't do any of the critical materials that are needed even for computers and other things with certain types of magnetic materials. And so we have to get that all out of China. With this dispute building up between us and China, we have to get that going again. This whole mining bullshit, shutting down America from mining its own resources, that's going to have to be stopped, and that'll be part of a comprehensive energy policy out into the future.
Good.
Question. Disclosure. How does that play into all of this? Because I know there's so many levels of crimes have been committed from the deep state and so forth against humanity, the children, and so forth. Where does the disclosure come into play with this?
You mean the alien question disclosure?
Correct.
Let's save that for another day. I don't want to get distracted. It's an important conversation.
Loud and clear.
I'm not deflecting it. I don't want to distract. We go down that rabbit hole for quite a ways, and it's an important discussion. I want to save it. We have an instant emergency right now to get lawful civilian authority back in control, not a Manchurian candidate via a stolen vote from a Pearl Harbor that was a digital Pearl Harbor. We have to get this under control. We have to begin the process of reindustrialization of America. We have to protect our financial system. It's the raw resources, the materials of production. It's the tools, instruments, industrialization. And then it's the right to actually convey or sell those things. If you don't have those three things, if you don't have the ability to have trade, then you're not a rich country. To the extent that you have them or don't have them, a country is rich or poor. An example would be Japan, which has very little in the way of raw resources. And so they have to import all of their raw resources. And then they have a strong industrial base that helped after World War II. We helped build that up. That's what MacArthur did. And they built out the factories and got their people working, doing the assembly, and they do this incredible work. Toyota has this incredible history, for example, of how they work through to perfect a product and using their workforce. And so they're very famous for that. Things that were great in America, but we somehow lost our way, lost track of it. Japan, without raw resources, imports them, but they have a strong workforce to make up for that. As long as they can get the stuff into the country, they can turn it into something. But then they have to send it back out to customers all over the world. So they have the right to do trade, to sell, to do commerce. So here in America, we have all three. We have the raw resources. We had the industrialization. We can still reindustrialize America. We have the infrastructure, which may be deteriorating, but it's just a, repair job. We just have to decide we're going to do it. And then the ability to trade. You know, a farmer can be the world's greatest farmer. Okay, so he just grew a bunch of wheat and corn. Now where's he going with it? If there's nobody to sell it to, if he can't sell it, just sit there and rot. What was the point? So you have to be able to get it out somewhere, and that's this trade to take something that we make and trade it with somebody else. That's a division of labor, whether it's nationally or internationally. One guy makes car tires, and the guy makes parts for a car engine. I just bought a supercharged Chevrolet motor for one of my cars to replace the stock motor, and it came from GM. I could have had it done locally where the car was at, and I penciled it out, and I said, you know, there's a lot of little things you can get wrong. I could have got it just a little cheaper locally, but it's such an intricate piece of machinery, and the guarantee is such, and it's nationwide, that I went ahead and just bought it from GM, and you know, paid a pretty good price for it. But when you penciled out everything, it was better to go there, because I probably, for the way that particular car is used, fit that particular vehicle. If I was just running it on a local race course, it was always going to be in the same area and have access to the same guys that built it all the time, and I wasn't all over the country with it, I'd have probably done it locally. And I have other stuff I've done locally. I prefer local when I can. But there's times when, due to the division of labor or the guarantees, etc., I go to a different type of a national chain or something like that, you know, business vehicles and stuff like that, a truck or something. I have to think how it's going to be used and what makes a difference. That's the beauty of America. And we have to protect that. That's our job, you and me, to help educate people, to get them back to what is it about America that makes it so great, and to focus on that again, and do it. And it's this division of labor, this industry that makes it possible to have jobs that then allow parents to raise their own kids at home, in their own household, dads to be able to be the dad and beat their chest and me, I bring home the bacon, you know, the wife be proud of them, you know, and the wives too. I mean, I got friends whose wives do the heavy hitting, and the guys are doing most of the kid raising, but they do a good job of it. But then at the end of the day, then we get to the other thing that I think your audience values and understands. You know, now you can think about God. You can think about your place in eternity, and you have a little extra leisure to have your rest day, your seventh day, your Sunday to yourself, because you're not just working yourself to death. You know, 15 hours a day. If America gets efficient, you can work a 40-hour work week and raise a family, because you learn how to manage other people that are at entry-level jobs or not as